Hey guys, Tashbaz here, and today I will be talking about Kerberos setup on Ubuntu servers. So we'll be setting up both the client and the server. So here's an overview of what Kerberos is actually. So Kerberos is a server that grants tickets so that to verify that a client is who he claims to be. So upon receiving the ticket, the client can then access Kerberized services, which are services that have Kerberos integrated in them. So I'll show you what I mean later on. But here's an overview of the algorithm behind Kerberos, and I will not go through the details because Computer File and a few other YouTube videos have already covered it quite thoroughly. Instead, I'll be teaching you how to set up the client and the server today in basically the command line commands because I see that there's no video on it yet. So here's an overview of what Kerberos is, right? First, we have three agents over here, three principals. A client would then say, I want a ticket, right, to verify that I am who I claim to be, and then the server would say, verify your password. So the server, the database in on the Kerberos server would store all the list of clients and their encrypted passwords. Then the client would give the password, right? It will be sent encrypted over to the Kerberos server, and upon the correct password, the Kerberos server will say, here's the ticket, and now the client stores the ticket. Now with the ticket, the client can then go to other services saying, hey, here's my ticket verifying my identity. I want to use this service. And let's say the file transfer protocol, FTP, would then say, okay, since you have the ticket and I trust that the KDC has done its job, right? Here's the service. And yeah, so actually there's more intricacies behind it. Like the ticket is not just identity, it's called ticket granting ticket, but I'll not go into details of that. But instead, today's video, I'm going to focus more on the client and server setup, specifically the commands that we'll be using, right? KDC there's two services running on the Kerberos server. One is the key distribution center, and one is the kadmin. And then from the client, you can you can obtain the ticket using the kinit, and you can also manage the server using kadmin. So yeah, we'll be covering those. And so you'll see a couple of terms that appear throughout this video. One is called realm, and the realm is basically the entire setup, right? It's basically where all the principals reside. So for example, all the principals are the clients, right? They're the users, the admins and the services, basically all the agents there are. And then you also come across realm name, right? Realm name is basically a name to identify a realm. You can call it anything as long as the entire realm agrees upon it to yeah. And usually people follow the DNS of the KDC. They follow the domain name, right? But you can call it any other thing in this case we'll be calling it meow. So another term you come across is key distribution center. It's abbreviated as KDC, right? And the service that you run the KDC is called KRB5 KDC. So you'll see that later. So in this case, it's this server over here, and the server will have an IP address for people to access. But sometimes you also attach it to a domain name, right, which is more professional. And in case your IP address changes, you can just change the mapping from the DNS instead of needing to tell everyone the new IP. So more often, they'll say the authenticator server is this DNS, this domain name, but actually the domain name maps to an IP. You can put an IP as well. It works too. Lastly, you also come across kadmin server. The kadmin is basically a service that also runs on the same server that the KDC runs on, right? It's one server that it runs the KDC and the kadmin, and the the kadmin will allow it's a service that allows users to edit the database, and the kadmin can be accessed from the clients as well. So you see later there's a difference between kadmin.local and kadmin. So yeah, with that, we're done with the theory. Let's jump into the practical. So over here, I have a server, right? I have a server running in the cloud, and I have a client also running in the cloud. So the first step to do, if you want to install the KDC if you want to install Kerberos, is to run sudo apt update to update the packages. So you need sudo for the entire course of this video, right? And go ahead and do that for the client as well, because later we'll be installing stuff on the client too. So if we go ahead and install, then we see that now we can try to the command. If we try to start the service right now, right? PRV5 ADC, you see that there's no such service, so we need to install it. So we can do so via sudo apt install krb5, and you see that upon pressing tab, you see a bunch of things that pop up, right? We'll be installing the user on our client later, right? But for now, we'll be installing the KDC and the admin server. So let's go ahead and install the KDC first. You see, say yes to the prompts. Okay, so now we pop up this menu, right? This is configuring Kerberos authentication. This is the default realm. Let's call our default realm meow in this case. So we call our realm meow. It can be a DNS looking, it can be a domain name looking kind of name also. Yeah, so this is the default realm that people will try to connect to if they don't specify it. So let's call it meow, then Kerberos server for the realm. So in this case, so just now we set up the name, right? But now what they're asking us to do is to say what is the domain name of the KDC service that people will try to access. In this case, we could put the IP address in here, right? It'll work perfectly well, but it'd be better to put a DNS and then later map the DNS to the IP address. So in this case, let's just call it kerberos.touchlabs.net. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want, you can check out my website, touchlabs.net. Of course, it doesn't have a Kerberos service on it right now, but yeah. So Kerberos servers, KDC, and then administration servers also, let's do that. So you go ahead and it will install it. Okay, so now we see that it has failed to start the service. Don't worry, all right? It's not an issue for now. If you try to do this on Red Hat, right, it'll be sudo yum install. It'll be slightly different. It'll be krb5 kdc, but I don't think there's a dash. So I'm just trying to say that right now we're installing an Ubuntu, right? Right now we're installing an Ubuntu. So if you tried it on other operating systems, because the package are kind of managed a bit differently, right? So the process might be slightly different and you might not see this error. But if you try it on Ubuntu, you might see this error, but don't worry, I'll show you what to do. So right now they say cannot open the database, right? Because if we try to we go here and we see that the folder is currently empty. So naturally there isn't a principal file, right? There isn't a principal file. Principal is a database, the database of principals. So we need to create one. So don't worry, to do that, right? We just need to run sudo kdb5 util, right? And the parameters we need to put in, if you take a look, kdb5 util, we can create a realm. We can use the -r to create to refer to a realm, right? Specifies a realm, and then we can use the -s to create a server. So yeah, so if we do create -s, then it creates a server, creates a new database, as well as something called a stash file. So let's go ahead and run sudo kdb5 util, right? So we want to create a server for the realm of meow. Then now they ask us for our master key. So we just set a password. And now if we go ahead and see the folder again, we see that now we do have a principal file. So we have successfully created our principal database, right, which is a database that stores all principals, basically all the agents. So now if we go ahead and sudo systemctl restart our krb5kec service, then when we try to see the status, you see that it is in fact running. Yeah, so on top of that, right, let me show you some stuff. So if we go over here, if we go over to krb5kdc, okay, there's no config file here at the moment. No, it's because I'm not root. Yeah, okay, there is a config file, and we see that in this config file, right, in this config file, we can specify the port that we want to run it on, as well as the database name, right, and some other things like that. The key, the k admin file, as well as stash files and key tab files, which will be, yeah, we're not going into too much detail, but this is where you can change all the settings. And this is where you can specify the settings for a particular realm also. You can have multiple realms. So another thing, if we take a look at krb5.config, right, you can see that this is also, we'll see this later on the client side, right? This file is this krb5.config file is also going to appear on the client side, and we see that we go down to realms, right? At line 28, we see the mail realm that we created, and here we have specified the KDC as well as the admin server. So this because the KDC right now Kerberos thinks is Kerberos at touchlab.net, right? It doesn't. If we try to ping it right now, there's no such service because that we don't recognize this domain name yet. So we'll need to edit our etc host file or the DNS server to point it to an IP address later on. Then along with that, you can see that there's some other realms over here that because MIT has created it, right? They also threw in a bunch of other maybe example or other realms that exist lah. So yeah, so right now the first thing we need to do later when trying to access when trying to use the KMN server, we need to edit, we need to let the kerberos.tchlab.net point to the IP address. So let's go ahead and edit the host file. Oh. So we need to edit it, right? So kerberos.tchlab.net. So let's just point it to localhost. And then now we can go ahead and run now what I'm trying to say is that now if our Kerberos try to access this IP address, right, then you'll point to a valid IP address which is localhost, but only on this computer because we have only edited the host file on this computer. So if we go ahead and try to ping, okay, we see there's a valid ping, and if we go and try to nmap it, right, so let's install nmap. Nmap helps us check which ports are open. Okay, it's gonna take a while. So yeah, I'm going into a lot more detail because I'm trying to explain what's going on behind the scenes besides just teaching you how to set it up also. So if we nmap ourselves, we see that in fact the port 88 does have a Kerberos service, Kerberos server. So this is just the KDC, right? It's not the admin server. So let's go ahead and set up the admin server. Because as I said, the KDC, the Key Distribution Center, and the admin server, they are two separate services that run on two separate ports. So without further ado, let's go ahead and install the admin server. Okay, so it's KRB5 admin server. So now it says configuring the K-admin server, right? So you see that this package contains the administrative tools needed to set up the master server, to run the master server. However, it does not automatically set up a realm, right? We have already set up a realm at the moment, but we'll actually need to redo it again later to create the relevant files. So yeah, so now I go ahead, it runs it, and the service is going to fail again. So if we go ahead, systemctl start krb5 admin server, and go ahead and status, you see that it has failed. And that's because at the moment, it cannot access this krb5kdc kadm5acl file. Because if we try to find it, right, we see that at the moment that the file doesn't exist yet. So that is a small problem. But fret not, right? So to do so, let's go ahead and delete our first realm, right? Yeah, I created a first realm. Actually, ideally we install the server, and ideally we install the KDC and the admin server. Then we create the realm. Because when you create a realm, you're creating some files that the ACL file that the admin server needs. But I just created a dummy a dummy server just now in order to show you that it's running. oh, and before I go on to that, right? Actually, you can try to you can edit the server using kadmin.local. So this was actually before we installed before we installed the admin server first. So we can edit the local server using kadmin.local if you're SSH in, but right now you need sudo because to access that file you need sudo. So right now you see that they didn't ask us for a password, but we logged in as root/admin. So if you do list principals, then we see that there is a bunch of these are the list of principals, and we can add principals using add prince command, and then you put the you put the this kind of thing, the username. So in this case, let's add a root/admin. Then we put in the password. Then now if we list principals again, we see that we have one additional user, right? We have one additional user. And yeah, so now we can actually log in as that. I don't know if kinit works here. Yeah, we can actually log in, but we'll be doing the login on the client side later. So it will look like kinit-p root/admin. Then we ask for the password, and now so after running kinit, right, this is the logging in, which will be done on the client side later. And we can do klist to see that we have this ticket. So the klist will list the tickets, and kinit will initialize the connection. So, but let's go ahead remove this, because if, at the moment if I run kadmin, it says failed to communicate with server because the kadmin service is not up. The kadmin service is not up. So if we try to start it, it will say that it cannot read this file. So let's go and create this file. So to do so, let's delete the existing database first. So destroy so deleting the KDC database. Are you sure? Confirm yes. So now if we list, right, there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and create a new one. And we can also do, besides using kdb5 util, we can also use the command krb5 new realm. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and we need sudo permissions because we're trying to create a file that is in a write protected folder. So, oops, I typed in the wrong. So upon doing that, right, we have created a new realm. So we deleted the previous realm and created a new realm. So now the new realm, blah blah blah, and you can use the KMA program because there's this principle added. This file is added. So if we go ahead and sudo, we go and look at the directory, we see that now beside the KDC config folder, we also have the kadmin.acl. So this is a folder that tells our kadmin server what kind of administrative rights we want to grant it. So let's just illustrate what that means. So right now, if I do kadmin.local, right, I list the principals. We see that our previous root/admin is gone because we deleted that realm. But we can add principals. So we can list the principals and we add principals and do anything. We're essentially root, whereas it's essentially the god of this server. So, but if we go ahead and try to run kadmin, okay, if we go ahead and try to run okay, so if we run kadmin, right, we see that there's no such user at the moment. So let's go into klocal and add a principal root/kadmin. Okay, then we exit out of it. Then we try to run kadmin. Okay, so now we are in. So we're in as kadmin. So instead of using kadmin.local, right, which directly edits the principal file, we now use kadmin, which interfaces with the kadmin service, which is running on a particular port. But however, if we try to list principals, we see that we do not have the privilege of doing so. So that's where we need to edit the kadmin file and delete this command to say that all admins, right, all ending with this slash admin users can do everything, start with everything. So if we go and do that and we run and restart the service, then we see that the service is currently running successfully. And then now, if we end up ourselves, right, we see that besides the Kerberos KDC, right, besides the key distribution center, we also have two other services that are open, and this refers to the kadmin services. Okay, so you see kadm is the kadmin. So now if we run kadmin, we log in, then from here we can list principals because we've edited the permissions to allow all slash admin users to access the do everything. So yeah, okay, so using this, let's go ahead and add a principal. Let's add a test principal. So let's say we create a tch/user. Okay, so yeah, so if we want to log in, right, so let's go ahead and try to log in with the client right now. So to do so, we use the kinit command. Yeah, but it isn't installed at the moment, so let's go ahead and sudo apt install krb5 user dash user. Okay, and yeah, okay, so now when we install the user, they also ask us to configure the Kerberos administration. Oh, crap. I pressed some stuff that I shouldn't have. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to need to reinstall it because I screwed it up. Hmm. Yeah, I made a small mistake just now. I accidentally pressed enter in the configuration when I shouldn't have, when I didn't set the correct value. So I'm going to purge it, right? It is a useful command. Sudo apt remove the package dash dash purge. So now if I try to reinstall it, right? Okay, so they're going to prompt me for the, oh, they didn't. Okay, let's try sudo dpkg reconfigure. So this is just reconfigure the package. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, it's okay. Let's directly edit the configuration files. So we go over here. I'm looking for they didn't add my thing. So let's go ahead and okay, I'm gonna come back a bit later with a new after I purged it successfully. So I go ahead and restart a new client server. A new, I mean, sorry, I've restarted a new client instance on Amazon. So if I try to run init, you see that there isn't. So let's go ahead and sudo apt install krb5 user. Okay, I didn't sudo apt update. That's my bad. Okay, so we go ahead and install it. Right, yes. Okay, so this was the thing I accidentally pressed enter on just now. So we go ahead and put in our default server, our default realm, which is meow, and then the Kerberos server. So this is similar to the step we did when setting up our KDC. And then we go ahead and try to access the kdc.krb5.config. Then we see that default realm is meow, and down here we have a meow realm, right? But at the moment, if we try to do kinit, it's going to say could not contact any KDC, and the reason is because if we try to ping our server, it doesn't exist at the moment. And so that means we need to edit the vim, we need to edit the etc host file, right? So over here, you put in some IP address. And what would the IP address be? That would depend on your networking settings. So if this client was in the same local area network as your KDC, then there will be something like 192.168. something. But in this case, it's a public IP. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and find the public IP of the server using co ifconfig.me. And this, in this case, is this. Okay. So let's go ahead and edit our host file 13.212.93.53. By the way, if you are seeing this video right now and you know a bit about networking, don't try to hack it because I will have taken it down by the time this video is up. Okay, so we go ahead and add a DNS name. Now we ping it, we see that yeah, it translates to the IP address. If we go ahead and nmap it, right? So let's install nmap to check whether the port is up. Yeah, once again, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, right? While waiting for everything to install. Okay, so let's go ahead and map our server. Nmap is quite a good debugging tool when you want to see what's going on. Okay, and we see that we have quite a few ports, right? So we have our KDC is open on port 88, and our admin server is open on port 749. Okay, that's great. So if we go ahead and do kinit now, we see that now instead there's a different error message. Now instead of saying there's no such KDC, right? Now they say that the client doesn't exist, and that's because we need to add a principal that we are logged in with. So remember our principal was tch/user. Oh, I think it was /user. Yeah, okay, so now they ask us for our password. And now if we play list, then we see that in fact we have successfully obtained the ticket. So this now our client machine over here it is a different computer from our server machine, right? So but now we have been able to get the thing through networking. So that looks exactly like the picture we have over here. So where the client and the servers are two separate servers, right? This KDC server is the one over here, and the client, right, that's asking for the ticket is the one over here. And we have managed to obtain the ticket using kinit. And yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up for this video. It was a bit longer than I expected. If you want me to go on about how to set up other services like LDAP, right? Then go ahead and comment it in the description below to tell me. And yeah, one more thing is that this entire thing is known as a single sign-on. So this is under network administration, where you might have an enterprise like a company, right? And then you want workers to sign in, and they can sign in using it's better if they just sign in once and then they can access all their emails and everything instead of needing to sign in again and again. So this is known as single sign-on. Yeah, single sign-on. And if after signing on, if you want to integrate other services with your single sign-on system, you can look at this Linux PAM, right? Pluggable authentication modules for Linux. And yeah, so I'll make a video on this if it's popular request, by popular request. So if not, that's all I have for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If not, have a nice day. Bye bye.